this thing that stakeholders underestimate how much work needs to be done. I think it's one of the axioms, and maybe not that critical in this case, because if they underestimate or overestimate, 4 months is still not healthy, right? for connecting a new data source.
Welcome to Data Breakthroughs, the podcast where every episode starts with a mystery. My guest and I walk in blind. No clue what the problem is, no idea about the industry, and definitely not here to spend an hour debating tech stack. Instead, we unwrap a real problem from a real person. Figure out what's actually going on, vanish for 15 minutes to think on our own, and then return to see if we can crack it live. It is part detective story, part improv challenge, and part let's see what breaks. No scripts, no preps, just curiosity, creativity, and a dash of chaos. Today, my partner in problem solving is the wonderful
Ilya. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Second time?
Yes. I'm a returning guest, it seems.
It was only fair to do it because we started the pilot episode with you, and to close the first season, I said, why not to bring Ilya? Because you're going to enjoy it.
Nice. I'm obviously following your episodes, and I like it a lot, and I'm happy I was privileged to stay at the source.
Would you like maybe to introduce yourself quickly to the audience?
Yes, happy to. So my name is Ilya. I grew up in Moscow. I studied computational mathematics, applied mathematics, and moved to Germany in 2002 for a research project. I did some research in databases, multi-decision criteria support. And then around 2008, I moved to Berlin for a job. Like I worked as a database developer, data engineer, in different companies, mostly startups and scale-ups, mostly online businesses. And about 10 years ago, I started to lead data teams, first in a small startup where I was the first data employee, and then I was tasked to hire a team and to build it, scale it a bit. And then I moved to Munich for a bigger company to work as their director data. And my last permanent job was again in Berlin with Ada Health, which is a symptom checker, e-health application. I was leading their data function until many companies in e-health and biotech were hit by, how do they call it? Biotech winter, I believe. So huge waves of layoffs everywhere, and Ada was impacted, unfortunately. So pretty much my whole department was made redundant, and I moved into freelance, and I am actually happy about it today because I joined different companies as fractional or interim head of data, director data, depends on the size of the team, and I help them build data platforms, data teams. Sometimes it's more technical, sometimes it's more about people and processes. I enjoy this different domains, different people, and sometimes I stay longer for some projects. So that's what I do, and I know Lior for many years, I guess.
Cool. We know each other since Corona, basically. I think this is when it started, all of the fun here.
Yeah, I think.
There is one difference today in this episode. The last time you brought your own problem, then from the pilot, I learned a bit. That was great learning, actually, to run with you the pilot. This is how we refine the system. And this time, we both don't know what is the problem. We have no clue what we're going to have here. It was randomly picked by the producer. And if you are ready, I would say let's check it out and see what we got. You up for it?
Sure. Yes, let's go.
I'm sharing my screen. I see you already also on the board. Amazing. Oh, what do we have here? I need data from our new marketing platform for quarterly forecasting, but the data team says building a connector will take 4 months. Meanwhile, I'm manually downloading CSV files daily, which is error-prone and unsustainable. Then why is it important to solve? Manual data processes are consuming hours daily, while I introduce risk of errors that could corrupt our quarterly forecast, and I cannot wait 4 months for a formal solution. That's an interesting problem already from the beginning of it, because I'm trying to think already if it's a technical part or is it human side?
If you want me to bet, like just out of experience, I would definitely bet for human and processes, because from most like failing projects and situations like this, I saw rarely the root cause was technology or tools. So in this case, I think I'm missing some context, and maybe you can help me understand basically who is having this problem. Is it some online like marketing manager? Is it CMO? Like how much influence and power this person has? And also, what's the business impact? Like, are we talking about somebody who just needs to do more manual work, or are we talking about company losing money and not making right decisions? So I think that's all like pays into the solution. And I would definitely challenge 4 months estimation. It doesn't sound like a healthy process if a stakeholder request takes 4 months. Either it was down prioritized and just other things are more important, then it's a question of priorities, or something is wrong with the technological foundation of the company.
We have here a little bit more details. I don't see from the quick scan that I didn't see anything about the company, the size, or who it is. The situation, our company recently adopted a new marketing automation platform that is generating valuable campaigns and lead data crucially for our quarterly forecasting. Data exists and is accessible by CSV exports, but there is no automated way to get it into our central data warehousing where I build forecasts. From trigger perspective, quarterly planning cycle starts in 8 weeks, and I realize I'm spending 120 minutes every morning downloading, cleaning, and manually importing marketing data files. 120 minutes, 2 hours basically. Last week, I made a copy-paste error that threw off our pipeline analysis by 50%, and I only caught it because of the numbers seemed unrealistic. Attention, the data team is focused on building robust enterprise great connectors that take months to develop properly. I understand their approach, but I have immediate business need. I cannot wait for the perfect solution. The manual process is unsustainable and risky, but I need this data for critical business planning. Boundaries cannot change the quarterly planning timeline. It's set by business cycle. Marketing platform was selected by leadership and cannot be changed. Data team has limited capacity in other priorities. Budget exists for reasonable interim solutions. Must maintain data quality standards for forecasting accuracy.
Reading all of this, I think I can play devil's advocate, right? I can like present the position of the marketing person and position of a data team, and I think a boss would probably assume they're right. From a marketing perspective, 4 months for building something is just, it's other priorities. You guys don't. You're doing something. You're over engineering. You're doing something production ready, but we don't need it. I understand. At the same time, coming from an engineering side, I don't think connecting to an API of existing marketing tool can take 4 months. Like getting the data from API, mostly you have those connectors for standard like data platforms already provided by the vendors. Most probably what this person calls building a connector is meant like the whole pipeline. So it's integrating this data into the company data model. It's delivering it through API tool. I don't think the complexity comes from like technical connection to another tool. Like getting the data is easy. Here we can later discuss, like depending on if they do ETL, ELT, they can like first load the data and then find out what it is, or they might build some business logic on the go. Nevertheless, I understand the frustration from that side. If you take from a data team side, or if I would be a head of data, maybe I would say, look, we have to do something which blocks delivery of our next product for our product team. It has much more priority. I understand your struggles. I understand the risk of manual errors, but it's just 2 weeks. 2 hours a day. It's just 2 hours a day. So one person, let's say employed person, maybe they get, let's say 100 euro per hour. It's like 200 per day multiplied by 30 or by 20. It's 8K, and maybe it's bearable. Maybe it's not a huge investment, you know?
You're going already to the solution space area.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just trying to say, you can see it from both sides, right? For a person in a product or marketing team, not getting something delivered is obviously unexplainable. For data team, if you have hundreds of these requests, you can say, what's the problem? They should just do it manually for now, and we will do it when we have time. Yeah, I think I experienced this kind of situations throughout my career.
So maybe we can draft the clarity statement that say, what are we actually dealing with as a problem here? What is the problem that we see here?
Authorization, obviously. The problem is that it sounds like there is no clear process for stakeholders. It doesn't matter if you are like C-level or just a manager, you're a stakeholder. And there is, in this company, there is no clear process to request something from a data team, and there is no clear rules how things are prioritized. I will start with that. Either data team should do it, or they should explain why they say no, and this explanation should fit into the process.
Okay. Our clarity statement.
Yeah, go on.
The problem is no clear process to request something. No, let's call it data products from the data team and how it gets prioritized and evaluated.
Exactly. I can speculate that the root cause of the problem maybe is not prioritization, but some technical limitations of a system, which makes it really difficult to connect new sources. But this is a speculation, right? We don't know. Maybe they're just busy with connecting more important sources currently, and that's why it takes 4 months.
I learned a new feature on Figma that you can ask it to rewrite the problem for you or to rewrite the text.
With AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
So what we have now is the issue is that there is no straightforward way to ask the data team for data products, and it's unclear how those requests get prioritized and assessed. This is what we're going to solve in our brainstorming session.
I'm interested in your opinion. Like, would you agree that this seems to be the root cause, or like the main issue here? It's not so much about why they're not, or like it's not. We probably should not discuss like connection of a marketing tool. We should discuss how people decide what they do and what they don't do.
I agree. I think that and this is something that I noticed with a lot of the problems that we received. It's many times very focused on the business person and what they feel or what they see. And it's this perspective that we need to address here. And this is again in here, like the 120 minutes, so to 2 hours. The fact that there are mistakes happening, and it's very much about they bring in their pains and what they feel, but there is also no side of what the data team is actually doing, and this is what we actually should solve in here. Because for me, it seems also the user or the stakeholder never received any feedback from the data team really why it's going to take 4 months and what is prioritized higher or lower, so they can go and have a conversation basically with the other teams and ask them to reprioritize their tasks if it's possible.
There are multiple. I experienced multiple models how this might work. You can, if you have like more hierarchical structures, you can go up the chain of command to your whatever VP C level and escalate things and like try to get it through the data leadership down to the team again. Or maybe if it's more agile and startup, then I for example, I worked for a company where we had quarterly planning, inviting all stakeholders, and they had to compete with each other, like basically discuss in a meeting who gets the things done in the next few months and who not. And they had to bring some data. Yeah, it's not always a good solution as well, but again, I don't think there is a silver bullet for every company, which like one solution which fits all, but that's definitely something companies should address to avoid situations like this.
Yeah, it's a gladiator ring, and we need to actually make sure that it's not. It's actually quite clear why decisions were made, and I think this is what it's missing in here. Are you ready to go to our brainstorming then?
Yes.
Are we going to turn off the cameras? 15 minutes, and we see each other here when the timer ends. So, Ilya, we are back from the break. How was it?
It was good. I think I have a few things to mention. Yeah, I collected some ideas.
Would you like to start presenting?
Sure. Should I just go category by category, like starting with concerns?
Freestyle as you wish, whatever comfortable for you.
Okay. Let's start with concerns. Or maybe with constraints. First, like to set the constraints, I think it seems we cannot change the marketing tool, or we cannot challenge the decision to use it. And probably we cannot change the data platform architecture, like big style. I guess it will require much more work, so probably we should work with what they have. Then the size of the data team, like naturally some people might say, yeah, just hire more data people. I think it's not always a solution. Sometimes it actually makes things worse. So I would assume we cannot or we should not scale the data team because otherwise they would probably already try it. Maybe they tried and failed. Yeah, so those are like two constraints, which I assume. Then the concerns I have, or like the things I would challenge, are 4 months for new source doesn't sound like a healthy architecture. So I would actually dig deeper and try to understand what exactly takes so long. So because You take data, you convert it, you somehow merge it with other data sources, you bring everything to the same data model. If you have, probably you have a data warehouse or analytical database. What takes so long and why? And I think that's definitely worth addressing. Or maybe they say 4 months, but actually they mean that the lead time of this ticket would be like 3.5 months waiting and then 2 months of work. 2 weeks of work. If like from this 4 months, actually it's just waiting in a queue is the thing, then it's a different story. Then concern I have, and it's also based on my experience, you always have this us versus them kind of thinking. We are the engineers, they are business, we are the marketing people, we bring money, we bring like clients, and they just pretend to be smart and sit in front of computers, and actually they come late to the office. So this us versus them, you have it everywhere. I think it's a basic social psychology, coming from probably thousands of years, where it was the case, like we were the good tribe and they were the bad tribe, and obviously you need to address this, right? And it's all like it leads to many miscommunications. Then I see that there are no clear rules for requests, stakeholder requests. It should be clear who decides in which order things are done and which criteria this person uses. On the other side, oftentimes users underestimate complexity and they make assumptions or judgments. It's a simple thing. It's just connecting a new source. So they assume something and actually tell the people who do the work how long it should take or should not take. And it's wrong. They should ask engineers. They should like define the business problems. They should explain where they want to get, or better, which problems they want to solve. And then they can get an estimation of a solution. They should not come and say, you have 2 weeks and this is what I want to do. So then, ideas I have. You can bring a technical person to the marketing team as a kind of exchange program to strengthen the connection. I did it. Like I was sending data people to marketing and product teams, and I got product managers and marketing managers in exchange for 2 weeks. They work in another setting. They get to know people. It helps enormously in a future collaboration. Maybe check if it's possible to outsource part of the work to the domain teams. For example, nominate data champions, like move a bit towards self-service BI. I know self-service BI was not always successful and many companies are rolling back on that. But I think what works good, if you have somebody in marketing who is already interested in data, start educating this person, start inviting them to some data champions guild meetings and create a Slack group for them. So you have people in every corner of the company who are data affine and you support them. And I think they can then take some of the load from the data team. Okay, those were ideas. Resources. I think you should talk to the vendor of the marketing platform and ask them, and maybe let your engineers talk to them. Maybe there is some ready solution. Maybe they can point you to another company which integrated the source. And so sometimes they really have, or maybe they have analytical dashboards in a tool which you don't know about. Maybe you can just use those as long as the data team. Okay. This is a possible resource. Quick wins. You can help them with this Excel automation, right? The fact that you don't have time to build a proper solution doesn't mean that you cannot dedicate an engineering time to just sit together with the marketing manager and help them with Python, with some simple scripting in Microsoft, because it probably would be much more efficient than expecting them to do it. And of course, it's dangerous because any intermediate solution you do once can stay like for years, and maybe then you never build it properly. But if you have some safety measures, it doesn't happen. I will start with that. And again, you would improve your personal relationship with these people. You need to have a publicly available prioritized backlog. It doesn't need to be on the ticket level. It can be just epics or like quarterly goals, but it should be visible to everyone in the company what your team does and why. There is much less discussions. You should focus on business value and human communication. I think tools and technologies are really secondary. It's actually strange we need to talk about it in 2025. We have so many great tools and they have so many features. Mostly things don't work because of people and processes and business and not because of platforms. I think in this case as well, try to fix business side or like the communication, human collaboration side, and tools will follow. And last thing is I would assess the risk of manual errors, because this person says, oh, if I make a mistake, something bad may happen. How bad is bad? Would it be a wrong prediction? Would it lead to some huge investment and the company going, bankrupt? Or is it just that they have more job later to fix the data? He or she said themselves that they saw the mistake later in the data and then they had to correct it. It's not that bad, right? I would also challenge this. Yeah, because just to finish the thought, automation is great and bringing everything in a production pipeline is great as long as the time for automation doesn't exceed the time you need to do it manually.
Yeah, completely with you. I think that I am having a very similar plan to what you brought here. I really like your approach on solving it, on bringing the engineer closer to the team, so it's making a little bit better relationship and everything. In my solution, I was discussing following points as I see it. So for me, a quick win will be ask one of the engineers in the team, or if there is no engineer in the team, some of the engineers in the company, just to bring some simple Python script, right? It's going to take all this data, I'm going to aggregate it each time, going to generate for you what you need in an Excel sheet or CSV file, and then you can work with it. And it's also doing the validation of the data for you. I think it's a really quick win. It doesn't take much. And today with vibe coding, I believe also a non-technical person can write something like that if they give the right data to the system. And it can save quite a lot of the hustle bustle of 2 hours every day. It's just going to save it into, 10 minutes running it and then start working with it if there is nothing broken, which is then technical debt that we will need to think about as well. But I took this approach of saying from resources, any visualization tool today actually supports CSV file introduction into the dashboards, right? There is an option to connect different files and create a database out of it. There's also an option on the table. They need to check it if they have visualization tool or not and figure out what's going on there. From the constraints, I put here 2 parts, which I think they're always relevant. So the data team size and the capacity. Even if you have a big team, you still have capacity issues sometimes. People on vacation, people are sick, and so on and so on. So this is one of the constraints that we need to take into consideration. The second part, as I mentioned before, the technical debt, which may be created by either the quick win or the longer solution. And then from concerns is the ownership and maintenance. By this, who actually owns then the data if the data team needs to create the pipeline for you? And then how you maintain it in the long term whenever things are changing. I think this is something that they need to consider and think about when they're approaching any of these services. Then I went a little bit and I said, okay, what actually needs to be happening here? We need to create some formal data request process where we basically say, why is it needed? What is the expected outcome? By this, we'll be able to increase our revenue by X percentage or whatever. So it's a little bit more number driven. What is the actual development time? So 4 months for me is very wide. What is it included inside it in these 4 months? Be precise, give the exact hours or more or less estimated hours of what it's going to mean. And then what are the other prioritization in the pipeline and their value? So this is also trying to put this value and the cost of it against other priorities. Maybe you can squeeze it. Maybe it's a quick solution and people can wait a little bit longer, but you won't be able to do it before you have the entire overview of the process as I see it. And then I put a super ambitious thing, which is some kind of a computed initiative calculator that basically giving you, based on the impact expected and the complexity of the process, what is actually the outcome. If this is with a high impact, low complexity, maybe this is something we should do now because the fruits we're going to collect are faster. And this is at least was my line of thinking. We're starting basically with the basic ones and slowly going advanced into this process. The second part was to build a self-service data tool, which allow the data to be structured and validated. And I think this is as a last resort. This is one of the things that I will hate the most because I don't believe in self-service, because also the self-service needs to be maintained and it's creating much more overhead than what we're expecting, but at least it's giving them the option to go to the raw data and collect their data and build it, and then they owning the process. This was my thinking. I also here, I put them in blue, but it's not really blue. It should be some other color. I don't know. Let's give it yellow. I created some points for the submitter of this ticket with some recommendation about like articulate the actual cost. While you mentioned 120 minutes, what does it block you from doing? What is the other things you cannot do while you're spending these 2 hours now on constructing the data? And what is the cost of it? Not having the data in the pipeline for easy extra cost us, adds explain it in cost, in money value, in monetary value. What is the risk if the task is not done on time? What is actually, this is something that I was missing, and I would have loved actually to hear it from whoever submitted it. What are the risks? And where and who will own the data? How will you use it in the companies? This is a little bit longer term to understand also what is actually value. Is it just now for the planning? And maybe this is also the reason why the data team are deprioritizing it, or is it something longer? And again, I'm repeating it, articulate the value to have this data, what it's costing us not to have it, what it's going to bring us if we have it. And I think this is like a very important point to keep for anybody who's dealing with this data. And I'm done.
Yeah, I like it. I think it was the same last time we spoke. We have a lot of ideas which overlap, obviously starting with, maybe it comes with experience, but like, if people have a problem, why don't you just write a Python script to resolve it, like the immediate pain, and then think about a long-term solution? I think this is, we both like mentioned it, just doing it for them for now. And other things I also agree. I would maybe challenge your idea of estimating hours and showing it to stakeholders. I am more into like agile Scrum approach, where it's a team's business how long it takes. People should come with requests. They should have approximate, like maybe on a month level, like we will do it this quarter or we will not do it this quarter, if it's a bigger thing. They should maybe not necessarily know about hours, because my experience with estimations is they are mostly not very exact.
Wrong.
And having wrong estimations is actually worse than having no estimations. In this case, you have a list of things, you prioritize them, and how to prioritize, I think you addressed it. It's also not so easy to agree, but you need to agree. And then you have a list of things and you work from top down and you do as much as you can in a time period. And then the team, if the team is good at experience, they should be able to tell in advance, for the next quarter, we can commit to A, B, C, but we cannot commit to D. It's going to be too much. And if you say D is more important, then let's get rid of C or B in our backlog. So I'm more like into this. I do estimations. I mostly do like story points estimations with my teams, but I mostly keep it like team internal, and I don't include it into stakeholder discussions. There, it's more like it's a huge task or it's a tiny task, like more on this level.
I agree. And this is why I moved in the last point you see here to impact and complexity rather than hours. But I think at least for this task, they can give what are the hours that are expected and why it's 4 months. You don't need to say it's going to take me 50 hours and I sign on it. But my estimation is around 50 hours because this is the component that sits there and will need us to touch them or we need to work with. Giving a little bit of understanding, because I think this is, at least from my perspective, many times like this double-sided communication of, here you go, this is my value, but this is how much it's going to cost us. Do you think that it actually makes sense that I'm going to invest my X hours now, or 2 engineers even, let's say 2 engineers for 2 months on this test? It's making it a little bit easier conversation than
I agree with you.
I don't want to commit 2 hours.
Look, I think we don't want to open a Pandora box and talk about estimations. It's probably for multiple episodes, the discussion.
An agile podcast, maybe.
Yeah. But my thinking about estimations is, of course, you need hours, because if you talk about budgets, if you talk about capacity, like hiring, you need to justify. Does it need to go into the teams as discussions? Not necessarily. Maybe it's something the team leadership should do. And within a team, the problem with hourly estimations is people are surprisingly bad in estimating things on absolute scale. They are much better in estimating things compared to each other, right? So things like story point make more sense to me, because hours don't include risk and uncertainty, right? You can say it's 5 hours and I know exactly what to do and I'm sure it's 5 hours. Or you can say it's probably 5 hours, but I never did it before, so it's just a guess. If you have an hourly estimation, you cannot distinguish between first and second estimation. It's the same. If you have story points, you can include uncertainty and complexity into your estimations. But it's a theoretical discussion now. I think we're on the same page,
So,
earlier. Yeah.
I think it's time to move to our next step, which is basically key insights and actions. Each of us can write down the 3 insights and 3 actions to do in the next 90 days. We're going to turn off the camera, 2 minutes. We are back. How was this thinking process of basically funneling our brainstorming into 3 actions and 3 insights?
I think it was an easy task today, not an easy task to solve, but a thing which probably both of us experienced so often in different situations that I think we have a lot to say. So it was relatively easy for me to formulate.
Cool. So would you like to introduce your 3 insights and 3 actions?
Yes, and I think it should go quickly. So first insight is people and communication are root cause of most data problems, like not tools, not APIs and dashboards. Then
I'm already dragging it.
okay. Second is clear and transparent prioritization process might help those people to align and reduce frustration on both sides. So if the rules of play are clear to everyone, I think it gets easier. And last is more from the engineering side. Sometimes stakeholders assume that something is a small task, but they are overseeing things. They don't know about technical depths. They don't know about problems with infrastructure, team capacity, team skills, or just hidden complexity. Maybe they think it's easy and it's not. So I think you should really ask people who do the work how much time it takes and not other way around. Okay, and 3 action points I found. First is what we discussed, help with some simple automation, temporary solution to remove immediate pain. It should also include validation to avoid getting wrong data. And this would remove these 2 hours of manual work and probably calm things down automatically. Then establish prioritization process and educate stakeholders how it works so that no questions are like this are appearing. And last is simple but always gets forgotten, just talk to each other.
I will move the talk to each other also into the action points, I would say. I think, we tending to avoid it. I think in every almost second episode, I keep telling people, Ilya was here on the pilot and he discussed that people are first and 80% of the problems are coming basically from miscommunication rather than something else. Still relevant today. I can move now to what I wrote here. Similar to what you said, many of the problems today can be solved with vibe coding easily and do the prototype before moving to the full solution. I think it's something that we need to remember. There will be changes, there will be adoption, and it's easier to do it if something quick and dirty and then slowly learn if it's actually what we need or not, rather than building the full solution and then realizing, okay, we need to rebuild now everything from scratch. The second part is ownership, is a topic which we also should be addressed. Who owns it, and with how will it be used in the future? I think there's 2 things that I missed here, and I would love actually to think also about the long term of this solution. And I stole it from you, the us versus them thinking, because I think that many times we're going into this, it's us against them, and it's becoming a very emotional process rather than a very rational process. What is actually the impact that's going to bring? What is the complexity? And then making an evaluation based on facts rather than emotions. In the action points, I put it 3 actions. So ask one of the engineers to build the simple Python. So this is what we discussed before. Something simple, quick and dirty. Start running with it. It's going to already save you quite a lot of the time of the Excel sheets and CSV copy paste and versions of it. Create initiative backlog overview with everything on the table. So creating some kind of an overview. So when you're telling somebody, it's going to be 4 months, you can also explain why it's going to be 4 months. What is standing there right now that is blocking it from happening? And then create a way to articulate the cost and the possible impact. I think this is, again, we need to be able to articulate what it's going to cost us, what is the impact of it, and then make a decision. This is connecting to the us versus them. This is really about having numbers and facts on the table. And it's not anymore a gladiator arena. It's now a rational place where you sit down and you're having conversations. And you can also go to other people and discuss with them and try to reprioritize them. We need to move two more key insights, and 3 more actions. What would you like to transfer here?
Let me check. Okay, I almost think actions are easier because we both mentioned like prioritized backlog and we both mentioned Python or like whatever automation solution. I think that's probably is supported by both of us and we can just move it. Yeah, in my case, I'm more like
Established
about process.
prioritization?
Yeah, well, I formulated it as a process, and you said like have a list, but at the end it's the same, right? It's about having rules and transparency. And first one as well, like we can ask one of the engineers to build a script or help with writing temporary automation. Yeah. Okay. And insights. Let's see how we can. Us versus. I think I actually would go with 2 of your things to the key insights, like ownership and us versus them. Because my points are important, like prioritization process, but we already talk about it into actions, so no need to repeat it here. And also that the thing that stakeholders underestimate how much work needs to be done. I think it's one of the axioms, and yeah, maybe not that critical in this case, yeah, because if they underestimate or overestimate, 4 months is still not healthy, right? for connecting a new data source.
I agree. Good. So I think we have our points. Any last famous words from this experience?
Well, I had an idea how you run this podcast, so I was already prepared. I enjoyed it again. Honestly, I forgot that I spoke about people first last time, but probably I talked so much about it. Like even if you talk to me half an hour, you would probably hear it already twice at least. I think, yeah, it just shows the importance of the topic because from a different angles we come back to it.
Yeah. And last question before we leave, did we get a breakthrough?
No, unfortunately, I don't think so. We did a great work, but it's a pattern or a problem I saw happening many, many times in different companies, different teams. Like, I think it's just natural that people expect something and it's not happening. And I think it's not that easy. If it would be so easy, if I would have like a silver bullet, a process or like an idea how to solve it in a company, I would probably already
been a
not be
millionaire.
here. Exactly. I think it's a basic thing. You do something, you have always more requests than you can do, and you need to prioritize, and people are not happy. So it's a part of the job to work with it. I think what you discussed is crucial and very important, but it doesn't completely solve the problem, unfortunately.
I agree with you that we didn't solve the problem. But at the same time, I think we got some good structure for anybody who deals with such a problem going forward. But I think it's also very much depends on the company culture, on the size of the team, and so many other factors that actually have an impact on the success or fail of this process. And I think that this is why I'm not sure it's completely no, it's a maybe, we're getting something, but not solving the problem that the user specifically raised. And the problem that they raised was the manual work. And here, while we have a quick win, so for example, the Python, is it actually the solution that's going to solve the problem for them, yes or no? And this is something that I'm tending not to be sure about. And this is why I'm in between.
Yeah. Is it like a real user, like somebody really asks you this question, or is it more like, okay. So I think in order to solve it or like to know if you solved it or not, I would probably need more context. So if I could talk to this person, if I could understand better, as you said, many attributes which play into the game, and technology and which database they use would be on the bottom of the list. So I think it starts really with other things. And if you know that, let's put it like this. I hope for somebody who watches it, it would be useful and they would have a few ideas, maybe something they didn't think about before, so they can use it and it can make their life easier.
Yeah.
It won't be a universal recipe to make every stakeholder happy, unfortunately, but at least it can give you some hints and ideas.
We're arriving to the end of the episode. Where we can find you? How can we reach out to you? Would you like to share some more information to the listeners about yourself? before we go?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the simplest one. I also have a website which is listed there, and I also have a YouTube channel where I smoke pipes and talk about data and leadership and like leading data teams, which some people
Recommending it?
find. Yeah, some people like it. But it's also accessible through my LinkedIn. So I think LinkedIn is a good starting point.
Good. And I will attach also the YouTube channel. Ilya, super thank you for joining. Thank you for closing this season. And maybe I'm going to see you next season as well.
I would be honored to be invited again. Always happy. And yes, thanks for having me. And hopefully till the next time.
Thanks. Ciao.
Ciao.
That's a wrap on another Data Breakthroughs session. If you enjoyed watching us tackle this problem, we would love to solve yours next. Head to the link in the show notes to submit your data challenge. You could be featured in an upcoming episode. If you're a data professional who wants to join me in the problem-solving hot seat, there is a guest form too. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next breakthrough. Bye-bye.